What's up? Hopefully you hear this. This is a journey. Life is an experiment. Chicos, Leanne, que out. So wonderful series. We're in podcast number 3 now, continuing from podcast number 2 with Andrew Rezmer from Conscious Living Radio. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Good. So this role play is amazing. We have the ability to know that we can grow and we can flow, and we're continually showing up. So in podcast number 2, we had a lot to talk about what is a heart-driven conscious joint venture. We were leading into the resources that we can bring. And during the break time of recording today, I had some inner guidance reflectively, bring wisdom through me that was, it was reflecting, when we're making these joint ventures and we want to go into the heart, what are the key symptoms or awarenesses and being present here and now is trusting in what you're creating and what you're co-creating, and trusting in those people that are showing up and how to trust them. So if you've had previous experience with them, myself with Andrew, there's been continual experience that has been progressively positive and light and transformational. And as he's been leading that in the community, and I've been able to watch him grow and talk about wonderful gifts and tools as to how he learns and how he shares, he's been balancing his yin and yang, and I've been coming out doing the same thing reflectively, and also having the ability to be open and available. So I was talking, just about coming into how do we map a joint venture. I want to talk a little bit about that connection with the heart and how to walk together, coming from the last podcast into this podcast. And how do I walk together is those relationships that are unknown is being available for the unknown. Those relationships that are rooted or that have already seen us or that have watched us grow and flower are also very juicy and delicious as to taking new steps together as a community. And I wanted to share reflectively, like I was talking about Jai Kid coming into my store, and I had him in my network working for the last couple of years. He says, well, you've helped me, Leanne. How can I help you? I've got hands to build for the project that you want to do. So check mark that on coming something in the future. And then other resources like my progression with divine awakening of Shiva and Shakti within myself. And then another level, I had people reach out to me from the Lakshmi Mandir that I haven't seen, I don't know, at least 5 to 6 years. And they're ready to walk and they want to work because they've been doing their work. So people that are coming into these symptoms of alignment with themselves and ascension, conscious people out there, I'm available for that. Andrew is too. There are skills and abilities that we both have that we want to apply in this podcast series to reflectively co-create amazing things. And whatever we are doing, have you contribute with us or also share your feelings. So let's get into the next question, knowing that I wanted to open the heart in that area about how do we map out the joint venture and the agreements this way from a heart-based, Andrew. What are your ideas about that?
I think this is kind of leading back to what we started this series of podcasts with, and that was kind of our first inquiry into how do we structure, how do we choose people, how do we decide. And at that time we talked about having a common goal, common vision, common direction, passion, and openness, and being creative to the point where it's very difficult to work with people who are stuck believing that that's the only way. It's either my way or highway, and even if their way is good, just the concept of not being able to consider other potentials is already detrimental in achieving goal as a collaborative process, because collaborative process requires openness, being flexible, being open to change and to collaborate. Obviously, that's the whole purpose of joint venture: bringing our resources together, bringing our expertise together, bringing our wisdom together and our passion together in order to achieve common goal. So how do we map? The first step is to get the direction or the outcome that we are desiring. Second is to choose people who are willing or have the same passion, same direction, same values, same goal. And then try the next step of this, or is the map, is the what are we bringing into this, each individual person, what are we bringing? It could be skills, could be passion, could be energy, could be just the willingness to work on that project. And third, now is the steps, specific steps. What do we need to, this is where we are, this is where we need to go, what are the steps that we have to go through to get to the destination? Sometimes we may not know all the steps, so the step would be to find the goal points that are necessary from others who may have already gone on that path, on that road, and they may be open to share their path with us, so we can avoid some roadblocks and or challenging turns. So I think those are the most necessary components of that map that you're talking about into joint venture. And once we have a map, then timing is important, because the knowing where we are, where we want to get, and what the destination is, we can walk speed of a turtle, or we can run with speed of a marathon runner, or we can take a jet there. So what tools, what vehicles we use to get to the destination, and why? Is it speed is important, or is the process more important, or is it the outcome more important, or is the impact we're having on community or environment more important? What are the the reasons why we're making? So at every aspect of every step, there has to be inquiry to bring consciousness to why are we making those choices, and what is it because it's easiest, or because someone told us, or because we actually went through the process of collaboration, and as a community, as a team, we made a decision that this is the best step, or best way to get to that step.
Very good. And then there's a lot of little things in there. Okay, let's also go into some areas of the pros and cons with steps, because having the ability to go fast or slow, or even speedy, I really believe collectively, even coming together, there's going to be some things that come up for every individual with growth. Let's put, for example, myself this week with knowing I'm putting out to the universe some things that are for my next steps. I'm watching the alignment as an observer with my kids' next steps. And then I've been renting a place for, the last 5 years that I know that needs refurbishing, that needs changes. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing whether or not these landlords are available to do that. I'm looking at all the financial things. I see all the growth that I have on my table to grow where I need to go. And then I get thrown a coin, a contrast coin that I wasn't expecting, but I knew it was coming. It has to come. And I knew I've been preparing. So in between of all these mapping out and how fast we go is the daily knowing and the daily growth. I feel is a very important part of this aspect of being vulnerable and being human is, are we going to hold each other through this? What methods do we have to help each other hold each other through this? Because we're walking together with varieties, right, of personal experience in one area. Okay, you have that strength in that area of expertise in real estate. So I'm like, okay, I got to call Andrew right now. And then I've learned to grow with that with you, even though you've been traveling the planet, doing what you've done in the last 5 years, but the friendship hasn't changed. Walking with you hasn't changed. And that light is merging more and more and more and more. So collectively, with these mapping out in joint ventures, there should be also a feeling of light that grows between our members and our teams in whatever we are going to do with these conscious events, or these conscious community buildings, or the conscious joint ventures. Is the roadmap still has to have in there, how do we lead each other more to light?
Yeah, and so since you brought up the accommodation or home as in one of the examples of real estate, let's unpack that as an example of different ways to achieve certain goals. So there's a couple ways. Each of us, all of us, every one of us needs some form of accommodation, some place where that we call home, the place where we rest, where we create, where we connect with our friends and family members, where we feel safe. So we can, right now in our Western world, we can buy a place, but that requires down payment, that requires qualification and all those different legal and other financial aspects. We can rent a place. So now let's say we decide that the renting is the direction that's the easiest. So what does a landlord want, or the owner of the property, or the manager? He or she wants someone who is stable, quiet, clean, and going to respect the property, and it's going to pay on time. Those are, that's what they want. What do you want, or what does the tenant want? Wants a inexpensive, clean, nice, safe place where they are being respected and their needs are being met. So right now, what is the exchange? You pay a certain amount of money for a certain accommodation, and you decided this is good enough or not. And that's a most typical way. But what if we try to bring a little bit more awareness to this process, and we inquire with the landlord, okay, what are your long-term goals? Are you planning to sell the property at some point of time? How are you going to go about doing it? When? Are you planning to upgrade the property before the sale? Are you, so what are the values or plans or goals that the landlord wants to achieve? And more often than not, it is possible to create a structure where, because of the fact that we inquire, that we ask those questions. So now maybe instead of renting, maybe we can do rent to own, for example. So now, let's say you or me, we are becoming a tenant, but now our interest in the property is different because our goal is to own it. So now renovating, painting, adding hardwood floors, or whatever other aspects that are going to make my life more meaningful or easier, or whatever I want to achieve, is attainable. Because if I was just a tenant, I would not put, work and energy necessarily as freely to someone else's home. But now, because we are becoming a joint venture partners, I'm renting the place in the meantime, but my goal is to buy. So whatever I put into the property is going to enhance the property for the owner and for me. So if I buy it, I'm happy because I've put this work into the property, then I was enjoying the fruits of that work. And if I don't buy, the landlord is also happy because the property is in better shape. But usually, quite often, we look at each other as opposite. Okay, he wants my money, I want his property. So let's find a compromise that each of us are going to be satisfied enough with. Or what if we're looking at, okay, I have needs, you have needs, and how can we work together? How we collaborate? How we can help each other? So it's not just pure exchange money for a place, but there is a more involved in that. But before we can get there, we have to know each other. We have to open. We have to be vulnerable. We have to be truthful. We have to be honest. Okay, this is my goal. This is what your goal. How can we structure this in a way that we're joint venturing together for you and me to get this the outcome that we're looking for? It doesn't have to be the same outcome, but combine, actually, I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of approach.
Well, even with this whole, I love opening this door with you, because I love this part of you. And I also love the other aspect of walking together as a community and creating a better world. So there's the aspect of how consciously you are seeing the home, the people, the owners, the money involved consciously. So there's a conscious approach to the exchange and value. Now, I want to come a little outside of this. How did you figure this out within yourself? How did you figure out how to turn that light bulb on in that area and in that area and all these areas in order to see that? What was it that made you see this way?
Well, I don't want to take a credit for figuring this out because it's, rent-to-own lease options, creative type of approaches in real estate have been practiced for decades. And because home is such an important, essential component of our lives, I've very early, over 30 years ago, kind of put lots of time and energy to analyze all those aspects related to it and different forms of accommodations, co-ops and group homes and community homes and so on. And I've realized that there are so many different ways that people, individuals, and groups are going about achieving the goal they are trying to achieve. And some of those was just structuring arrangements between the owners, those who have and those who want to have, in a more collaborative way than just purely, you give me my money, I give you my goods. So that was, over, I think, over 25 quarters of the century ago, when I started looking for different ways and learning from others who have created different ideas and putting, taking some from here, from there, and incorporating it in my life, because there is not one solution for all. There's so many ways of, creating arrangements that honor different values, different goals, different people may have. There is not, it doesn't mean that there's always, because if someone wants, I want just money, nothing else. I'm not interested in nothing else. I just want my money. Pay me and I'll give you what you want. And if that's the approach, that maybe that person may not be, the arrangements with that individual may not be the goal that or the outcome that I want to receive. But there's others, so it's finding those who are open to different arrangements. And if you knock on enough doors, if you throw enough seeds, there's sooner or later going to be fertile land that is going to receive it and grow and create a beautiful outcome, beautiful fruit, beautiful out of this approach. And I think in some way you ask the question, how do we give and how do we receive? Because that's in itself, what is a gift and what is and I think it's that by itself, I think you could be a separate podcast, because quite often in our society we have this approach. Okay, someone gave me something, that means I owe them something. There's this concept of, okay, it has to be fair, and sometimes just ability to receive is gift in itself. If I receive your thoughts, if I receive your ideas, if I receive your tears, if I receive without trying to stop, without trying to change, without trying to respond, without trying to analyze, without trying to compare, without trying to do anything with it, just purely witness and receive and acknowledge and be grateful. That's the I think, form of a gift in itself. Because what does it mean to receive is to accept. And what does it mean to accept is to love. So the highest form of love is to ability to purely receive someone's gift.
Well, we want to purely receive the viewers also. We want to remind, as this podcast continues, the receptivity and the intuition that I'm receptive to and receiving, the structures we need. And the reason why we need these structures, as we talked in the first podcast, Andrew was talking too, is that a lot of people come up with these big ideas, but they don't have the systems or the structures. So we mapped out, we know that there's a timeline. We know that there's what you want, your why, your what, your timeline and getting there, and the hard work to go into it. We can talk now about the terms blockages and the unseen. Did you want to
Hmm.
talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So let's say an example. We're working together, you and I, and as a part of our joint venture, we decided that we need a third party, someone who can offer something that we neither of us has or is able to offer to this. So we're inviting another joint venture partner, and let's say you have an idea who or how this person should go about bringing the missing component. And let's say I have a different idea. How are we going to agree, or what is the process? What are the steps necessary for us to expand our joint venture, even though our approach is different? What do you think? How would you do? How do you go about it?
I think foundation is important. So we'd have to
Mhm.
have a foundation of a general agreement with general aspects that are governed by society. For example, like we talk about real estate or we talk about renting a place. You have a residential tenancy agreement, for example. There are general things that everybody follows, which have been proven to help prevent problems. So there's general aspects in there. I'd say that if you have a good foundation, then as you grow, you flow. And so I feel like you have to make that agreement with communication first is, grow and flow and learn how two different people will grow and communicate and get to know them in that aspects. And then the blockages could be from the mind. So my biggest thing is I come back to myself all the time first. What I've learned from the law of attraction is what is it am I attracting that's in my way of getting what I want? Or what could be coming reflectively, either the person is not in alignment, so you just got to say next, or there could be something within me that's attracting that same lesson that I need to learn. So I'm just talking outwardly about either something sustainably in the community that's already a lesson of learn and that are governed rules, or there's things unseen within myself that could be coming up. Either they are realistically happening out in front of me, logically happening out in front of me, or they're not. And that's why I meditate. So those would be some of my answers.
Okay, but there's still a very practical issue. We are partners, let's say, let's say we're working on a event, and you want to bring sound engineer that you know, and I want to bring sound engineer that I know.
Mhm.
And so we have the same goal. You and I, we want to create an event that is going to make a difference in our world, but we have a different opinion how to go about doing it. And that becomes a roadblock because the goal is the same. We have map, we have timing, but now there's a daily decisions that are going to be made. Who makes that decision? How? What basis are we going to use to decide whose idea is going to be implemented?
Well, I think
Like
it's some.
very practical.
So okay, so I was giving insights as to many ways to see these blocks, but in that area there has to be some leader. In some
Hmm,
areas there has to be assigned positions, more or less, and working very well in what you take on in your position.
hmm,
So for example, like at Aveda, I work there and I took assistant team lead because I know I have my own smaller business outside of work. And if I take on team lead, I don't get the days off that I want. So we have to make a roadmap as to, okay, why am I here to do? What am I here for? What is my benefit? What is everybody contributing? And then work as a team.
hmm. Okay. So you're assigned this responsibility to someone that you trust. You have faith that that person is going to make a decision that is best for the outcome of that you're desiring.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That would
Yeah.
be.
So that would be one, is to assign responsibility. Another process idea could be to let's say both of us have someone that we want to invite. So another concept would be, I want you to tell me everything that makes you believe that this person is going to be the best partner with us. long do you know, what events you've done together, what kind of expertise they have, what kind of assets, what kind of person they are, what is driving them to do what they're doing, and so on. And I will do the same. So now we are both communicating. We're not trying to sell. We're not trying to convince. We're not trying to, okay, my guy or my this is the. No, it's I'm honestly sharing. Okay, why I'm so excited about inviting that person to our joint venture, and you're doing the same. And if we are really open, if we're really honest, if we're really not driven by, oh, I want to help my friend, or I want to help my family member, or I want to save money or whatever. If we are really honest and say, okay, this is my friend, I want to support him. This is his starting. He doesn't have expertise, but I trust him that he's going to do everything that he can to make the difference. Maybe that's enough. Or maybe, oh, it's too risky. We are going to have 1,000 people in the audience. Maybe we'll invite my friend who is just starting it to be a support to other person who has expertise. So if we're collaborating, if we're working together, if we're being honest and transparent, there is more possibilities, there is more options, instead of just okay, this person is cheaper, let's do that, or this person is more experienced, let's do that. There is, you know what I mean? There is in the process of collaboration, we have to, in every aspect, see, is there room for collaborating? It doesn't mean that every time every decision has to be made by everybody involved, because that will take forever and that will become a bottleneck in the process. But in important decisions or even directions, the collaborative approach, discussion, honesty, transparency, being willing to open and change because of how each of us is feeling about it is essential, in my opinion, to success of this joint venture.
Well, I've seen what you've done, and I've seen it twice. I've seen it 2 or 3 times already. So what I've seen you do is expand every option more. Even when it comes to the opportunity, even reflectively about real estate, is that you've expanded yourself more and more and more and more for how many options are available for you. But consciously, I did want to come back to that understanding. What is it within you that started that? Like, where were you always aware at that level of knowing there's more love to expand?
I'm not sure if I was always aware. I don't know if we're born with that kind of awareness. I think it's the interactions in the world and trying something. I think there is this concept of trying something beyond and not being stuck. Okay, this is the only way. I remember when I was young, very young, I was a kid, first few years in the schooling system. I was sick for one of the first years in the school. I was sick for 6 months. I was in bed for 6 months, and so I missed lots of school. And when I came back, I was behind. I was behind quite a lot, and especially in the math. And so I was considered to be not, educated enough to really be treated the same way. So, and I decided one day I don't want to be, pointed out as the slow one. So I've spent few days, almost every minute I had with very little sleep and not playing as a kid should play. I just wanted to catch up, and I did. Came back to school, and the teacher asked some questions related to the math, and I was the first to raise the hand, and he didn't believe me. It's like, not possible. This guy doesn't know anything. He's behind. He doesn't. So, and I was so eager to answer the question. So he's just, okay, fine. So I answered the question, and he looks at me, he's like, who told you? Like, he couldn't believe that I could know the answer faster than anyone else. I said, nobody told me. Said, don't lie to me. I'm not lying. So he says, okay, go to the front. So he wrote on the
Chalkboard.
Blackboard,
Hmm.
all different, the whatever multiplications or divisions and whatever else that was just, I think it was just the first couple years of the elementary school. And and he goes to his desk, starts doing something on his desk, assuming that it's going to take me forever and I'm going to make mistakes. But, I just wrote the answers right away. He turns around, he becomes so angry. Says, "You're cheating." I said, "I'm not cheating," because he couldn't believe that someone who was so behind can actually, learn. And so this time he wrote a bunch of more questions, and I answered, so he realized that I actually do know. And
Mm.
that one incident changed my belief in myself.
Mm.
And from that point on, there was nothing. I kind of knew that there's nothing that if I put my time and effort and energy into it, there's going to be payoff at the end. That one, I was 6, 7 years old, and that one incident where I decided to do something and I proved to myself and others, but mainly to myself, that I don't have to be the slow one, only because I was sick for 6 months out of a year.
Thanks for
That
sharing that. That's beautiful. Well, I feel like, yeah, that strength of yours has helped me as a sister, as a friend on so many levels. And I just want this to get out to the community. I want us to grow. I want to pick your brain. There's so much to pick your brain about. There's so much here about, a lot came up for me in moments. I mean, all the years that I've known you, I'll be somewhere and I'll think, oh, this is perfect for Conscious Living Radio. And then years later, you're like, Leanne, get on to getting all those followers, follow you and start Blissed Out. And now we're walking together in new ways. But it still happens where I'm like, I'm back in that moment. And I'm like, I remember being in Douglas College going back for music. And I'm like, this would be great for Conscious Living Radio to have a place right here to get out their events, So that love that you have, it's affected a lot of us. And I'm sure people on the radio or anybody that knows you, because I'll run into somebody recently, or even Jay Kid, she's like, oh, Donna knows Andrew. And like somebody, oh, and that guy knows Andrew too. And being a network person, a lot of people say the same thing about me, but we need to shine this light. We need to shine this light and we need to get this out because we have ways that people can be blessed by. And I want people to be blessed by your wisdoms and your gifts and how it started from your childhood in a math class, right? Things like I want to grow in the next podcast coming, viewers, how do we ascend together, steps to working together. So we're all ascending in new ways. Consciously, we're all going through our inner kingdom, and COVID's affected us in so many ways. But Andrew has this gift in what I saw when I went to his first class with Crane. I really want more of that in the world, Andrew. So I've been that student, like, and I think because I keep doing this, I literally was thinking about this whole situation about moving this summer. And it's like I'm getting downloads and downloads and downloads and downloads from Andrew. It's like da 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 da. So schooling is important. Your schooling is important for us. So I want to share more of that, and things like farming, and the laws of attraction. What can we share in those areas? Exercise and the different things that we learn from exercise, opening the heart. How does that work? Dropping of the ego, building trust, investing together, new paradigms, and shedding the onion layers. So viewers, this is our third podcast. It's going to be enough for today because we've been out here. We did 2 of them. Andrew, it's so good to be with you.
Thank you.
So good to reflect you. And yeah, we're excited for more. And I really feel anybody who's out there that reaches this video, and I'm going to keep sending the first videos. I'm going to keep doing this because I feel like this series needs to get out to more people in a rhythm so that we get more people involved and saying, I want to contribute, and making your incantation of what do you want to offer, and then finding that place where we all fit in.
Yeah, and let's invite your followers to ask questions, more questions, not only expecting that we're going to come up with an answer, but each time when each of us ask a question, it's like we're opening a door to new. new information, new ways of doing it. As long as we don't ask the questions, the door is closed, because there's no point of opening the door if we believe that we already know the answer. But any time, at any point, and it could be question about how to start a new business, how to start new relationship, how to improve existing business, how to improve existing relationship, how to be healthy, how to make changes, how to contribute to the world. Anytime we ask the questions, we're opening the door in our mind, door in our heart, door in our spirit, door in other people's hearts and minds. So keep asking questions, and use this opportunity wherever Leanne is posting those conversations that we have. Add questions, because it's not expecting us to answer, expecting you to have more ability to be open to new possibilities.
Sounds so good. So then I think what we can do from the series is continue these podcast series so we have them available and they're recorded, but we can find a way through your travels and through my responsibilities that I'm doing right now in this next 6 months of our lives and all the changes that we go, is to show up live and to have a point in time where viewers can come in and ask questions. So there we go. We just gave birth to something new. So much love to you. And have a great afternoon. Viewers, if you have any questions, please direct a message to myself or Andrew. Click like and click share on Conscious Living Radio, Conscious Living Network, and Blissed Out Network. And see you soon.
Thank you.